Hello everyone, this is Joel Davis with the United Medical Transportation Providers Group, and youarethebroker.com, helping you to build a highly effective and highly profitable broker business. I'm coming back at you with another great question. Again, I always thank everybody for all their questions and emails, but understand we can never answer them all. It is what it is. Just got to be realistic. But when I find one, or when Dan or Don or Charlie forward me one that's kind of stands out, because a lot of the emails we get are just simple, basic how-to stuff. If you got a simple how-to stuff, go study my material. But if you have a legitimate question that's in-depth, we might take a look at it. And who knows, I may be reading it here online, which I'm going to do right now. This is a very good question from Ann, who writes, "Dear Joel and team, I have an unusual situation that I hope you can offer some insight. I have an employee who arrives to work on time, performs all his trips without a problem, and must like being around here because he hangs around after work socializing with other drivers. My problem is not in his actual work performance, but with his influence on other drivers. I have noticed since hiring him about 2 months ago, we are experiencing more problems with some of our other drivers. Things that were never an issue before are now an issue. We only have 6 drivers, which I know is not a lot, but I can tell there is a definite difference in how some of them treat my dispatcher and me. The questioning of some of our simplest of policies and procedures, which were never an issue before. If this driver showed up to work late or created a more obvious problem, it would make my job easier because I could just fire him, but I am unsure of what to do under these circumstances, especially because we are a smaller business. He does his job and we need him as a driver. Any help or insight is greatly appreciated, Ann." And this is a very good, very unique situation, and I can absolutely relate to it. That's why when I got this email from Dawn, I ended up told her I was going to make a video out of this because I like it, because I can actually relate to it. What you have here is a detractor. Bottom line, he detracts from the show. He may do his job, do the trips, but he is a detractor. So a couple things to consider first and foremost. Yeah, he's performing his job well. He shows up on time, doesn't, I guess, argue or anything too much with regard to performing trips. But he is little by little leveraging the platform he has, i.e. your business as an employee within your business. He is leveraging that as a platform to springboard his own personal agenda. So I will give you a case in point. Years ago in my medical transportation business, we had 20-something drivers at the time, and this one driver I hired used to work as a union driver, and long story short, he couldn't keep doing all the long hauls and freight, supposedly. If I recall correctly, went through a divorce, whatever, wanted to be closer to the daughter. That's great. Whatever the circumstances were, I don't remember all the details. Hadn't been with us too long, but I legitimately could notice the difference. To my face, he was good. When I told him to do something or asked him to do something, not a problem, he would do it. But I noticed that he was always trying to pin people one-on-one or in small groups, and they do their little whispering, talking, things would quiet as I walked by. And I could totally tell that he had his own agenda, and I had to let it play out. Again, he was a new employee, and I couldn't legitimately complain about anything. I mean, like you mentioned with your driver, he showed up on time, performed his trips, kind of similar to your situation, hung around with other drivers, which when you look at it in its face value, that's not a problem. But he had his own agenda. And then and I already noticed this, and I was watching it for a period of time. I could see the different dynamics. Some people had the discernment to avoid him, and I clearly noticed that with certain people. People who were, what I would argue, were more confident or stable in their position within the company, they didn't gravitate towards him. But other people who I would argue weren't as strong internally, maybe they're more of a follower, I think that they tended to gravitate towards this guy. And I witnessed this for a period of time, and eventually the straw that broke the camel's back for me was he came to me and he said, "Hey boss man, I was kind of thinking, you know what, I was talking to a lot of the drivers, and sometimes I was thinking that maybe if there's an issue or something like that, there could be like a representative or something that they could kind of speak to, and then that representative could come and speak to you." And I knew exactly where this was going right away, but just to placate him for a little bit, I kind of played dumb. I said, well, what do you mean? I'm not sure I follow. He goes, well, I mean, let's say that the drivers, if there's a couple, if there's a problem with something, hopefully they'd have someone to speak to that person could then come and talk to you kind of as the advocate for the drivers. I said, oh, I get it. So it's kind of like just like forming a union, and that person would kind of like be the union rep. He said, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm talking about. I said, yeah, no. And without saying it, I was basically telling him to go SHIT in his hat, because that ain't never going to happen. I'm not going to have a union in my business, because I wouldn't do that anyways, but we were small and I'm not going to deal with that. I'm not going to deal with a subcurrent or an underlying layer of bureaucracy that further works to separate the continuity within my business, separating me and my managers and directors from the employees. So absolutely not. Right there and then, I knew exactly. He completely exposed himself. I knew what his agenda was. Long story short, within 2 weeks, I fired him, 100%. I went home, slept on it, waited for the right strategic point, and I fired him. I don't exactly remember what the reason was why I terminated him, but I terminated him. Now, typically, when I would fire an employee previous to this guy, there was always reasons for it, in terms of showed up to work late a few times, had a problem with a dispatcher, whatever it was, and I would counsel them. I document it all. I put it in writing, make them sign it, kind of like a 3-strike rule, you're out, so they would always know the ramifications. If it happens again, you're going to be terminated, that type of deal. This guy, I didn't do that. Whatever the issue was, and I don't recall, because again, this is many years ago, boom, I fired him right away. That was the out that I needed. It was probably within 2 weeks of us having this conversation where he came and solicited me to, for lack of better terms, become this little union rep. But I fired him. Now, I could have cared less at that point in time if he wanted to go file for unemployment. I could care less if he did, but he didn't do that, because I think he went back to driving freight, long haul. Something he didn't want to do, but I think he went to do that because he needed money right away. So I don't even think he even went to file for unemployment or anything like that. So the reason I mentioned the unemployment situation is because if this quote unquote detractor in your business, if he is more of a cancer and he needs to be excised now, if he needs to be eradicated now, don't even worry about something as simple as him filing for unemployment insurance or anything like that. Granted, he's only been with you for 2 months, which isn't that long, but honestly, I would find any possible reason you could legitimate to fire him, because he is a disease and a cancer. If again, just based on the email you shared here, not knowing some of the other backstory, not knowing your overall trip volume, some of the other variables and dynamics that I could clearly articulate with regards to my situation with this former driver that I had in my business, just based on your email, I would tell you, hands down, fire him, because just like my guy, he is completely trying to create his own subculture, his own ecosystem within your business. And realistically, consider yourself blessed, because like you said, you only have 6 drivers. So I don't know how many vehicles you have or what your trip volume is. So I understand that, yeah, you need him. You mentioned you need him. So if you fire him, I understand that may put your daily operation, your logistics, kind of may hamstring your operation, but it's better to do it now versus when you're bigger and you have more issues, more trip volume, and you're actually even more dependent. So at this point in time, based upon what you tell me, I would 100% tell you to fire this detractor as soon as possible, as soon as there is a point of entry or an opportunity where you think you could fire him under some type of a legitimate concern, whether he shows up late, whether he seems belligerent to you. You mentioned that he has a problem with your dispatcher. That could be your point of entry, that you legitimately fire him for the grounds of belligerency to your dispatcher. And again, you didn't articulate that in great detail in your email, so I'm just speculating. But if there's something there, use it as the motivation to fire him, because he clearly is developing and using, he has his own agenda. He's leveraging your platform, your business as his own platform to create his own subcurrent that's going to be working to undermine you. And it's better to get rid of him now while you're smaller, hopefully more flexible and more nimble, versus when you're bigger and even more dependent and trip volume continues to grow. So excise the disease and the cancer now. So I hope that this video message, this answer, is kind of what you're looking for. I definitely hope this helps you. And again, if you have because I really appreciate this question, if I missed the mark, if there's something else that I'm missing, definitely feel free to reach out to us. I'd be happy to respond. But again, protect your business. At all costs, protect your business, protect yourself, protect the house. Obviously, you want to take good care of your drivers, but if you can clearly witness and you're noticing that he's having a negative influence on other drivers, eradicate the disease, excise the cancer, so you can come back in and refocus the minds and the mentality of you and the overall vision of your business. You do not want, especially for a driver that you're paying him, I'm assuming by the hour, you don't want someone like that coming in and trying to redefine your culture, being an adverse influence to the overall climate of your business. Protect the house, protect your business, protect your family, protect your finances, because when you do, I'll see you at the top.